Hello and welcome to this edition of City Hall Insider. I'm Jim Marshall of the New Bedford Cable Network, program designed to give you an inner look at what's going on at some of the city departments throughout the course of the year. Joining me today is our Director of Tourism and Marketing, Dagny Ashley. Dagny, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Lots going on this time of year as we head into the summer. The Memorial Day holiday is come and gone, and the unofficial start of the tourism season is upon us. Talk to us a little bit about what your department does.
So our department, I like to go into our mission statement because it clearly states exactly what we do.
Do you know what you do?
For tourism and marketing. Yes, there's a lot of things listed under that, but the mission statement kind of clearly spells it out. So we're dedicated to promoting the city as a viable tourist destination, as a leisure travel destination, both nationally and internationally. And what we do is we market our city's arts, our culture, our history, our attractions, our beaches, our waterfront. We're the #1 fishing port in America. We've been listed as the 7th most artistic city in America. Lots of things like that. That's how we promote the city as a destination. So we do destination marketing in promoting the city as a full destination for visitors to come here.
I saw a figure in the state figures, I guess, that shows that tourism is the second largest economy or economic driver in the state for business. How important is tourism to New Bedford?
It's very important, and they go back and forth with the state numbers. Sometimes they say it's the second or the third largest industry in Massachusetts, and that consists of a lot of businesses that are listed under that. It's not just attractions and museums. It's service providers that are providing hotels with services, that are providing restaurants with services, transportation services. So if you think about that on a state level, that's a pretty big industry. Mm-hmm. And of course, summer's everyone's peak season, except for Berkshire's, where they can bank on the winter months as well. But it is a 12-month year-round marketing a destination.
It's changed because it used to be, and it didn't seem that long ago that it was for not just New Bedford but everywhere. It was just sort of a summer tourism season. But now, and this is not so recent, but still recent really when you think about it, it is now. The competition is fierce. You want people here year-round.
It is fierce. The competition is, in the Commonwealth, it definitely can be a friendly competition because we all work together. We're all vying for the same tourists to come to our cities or our destinations. But it definitely is a competition. And if you're not at the table, you're not going to get a piece of the pie. You lose valuable market share when you're not out there actively promoting your destination. In the tourism world, we don't say, tourism just doesn't happen. People look up destinations. If they hear from it through an ad or a commercial, through the radio, that's when they further go look at the destination and see what they have to offer. So it doesn't just happen. People just don't fall upon your destination. So you lose valuable market share if you're not out there all the time at the table with the state tourism officials, with the New England tourism officials, attending national trade shows and conferences, putting your destination at the forefront, because it's a competition, nationally and internationally. We're competing against large cities, small cities that have tourism offices, that have somebody that's actively promoting tourism.
I was going to say, is it harder for, say, a city our size versus I think the Cape's an unfair advantage because the Cape is the Cape. But when you're talking about, it seems people have areas, or there's tourism areas, but when you think New Bedford or some of the cities, the mid-American cities, as the mayor calls them, these are just one community. Mm-hmm. So is it harder for a community like New Bedford to in a sense, promote itself versus like an area?
Not so much on the level of marketing the destination, more of on, budgetary. So our budgets are obviously on a smaller scale versus some of the other cities, larger cities. So we have to be more creative with our marketing, with our advertising, with our co-ops. But as a destination, not so much, because as long as you're out there actively promoting your destination, folks nationally and especially international, they don't see county lines. They don't see state lines. You know, when they're coming to visit, they tell us all the time, "Are you in New England? Because I want to visit New England." And that's international.
So you can tie in.
So you can tie in with Plymouth, you can tie in with Cape Cod, and we're relatively close. I mean, we're pretty much in the center of it all. We're in the center of, you know, close to Providence and Newport and Cape Cod. So we're pretty convenient for tourists when they're traveling around the state to visit us, and we're coastal. So that's a big plus for us, that we're coastal and that visitors get to come see a working waterfront, go to beaches, and visit our attractions and our museums.
And I think the funny thing too, or the ironic thing is, you know, when you look at tourism, I mean, certainly you promote within the city. You're trying to get the city's residents to come out, but really the competition is for those that don't live in the city.
Correct, because that's going to bring an economic stimulus to the city, obviously. If we can get people to have heads in beds, is what we say in the tourism industry, because that's going to bring those tax dollars into our city. And as well with people going out to dinner, having lunches, or you bringing groups in and they're having, group of 50s having lunch or dinner, that's bringing those tax dollars into the city. But yes, absolutely. I mean, our main focus is to bring tourism to the city, but absolutely we want our residents to enjoy all these events, all the attractions, the museums. And even in the fall, in the off season, we call it the shoulder season, we do an event called Hometown Tourist Weekend, because we want residents, locals, to be a tourist in their own backyard. You know, go explore a museum or attraction that you've never been to. It's always good to be a tourist in your own backyard and know what we have to offer. You
and I were talking a while ago, obviously off camera, but talking about just some of the places where you advertise. And you're not advertising in, quote, the local media. You are, yes. And so explain people to what, in a sense, where you're looking for those tourists.
Well, what we tried to figure out is who's our target market. Who are we targeting to get to come to New Bedford, to visit New Bedford? So recently we just did a trade show, a conference in Connecticut. It was in Plantsville, which was the first time I visited there, but it's about 2.5 hours away. So that's a good target market for us, is Connecticut, and that brought in a lot of New York as well. That's a good target market, not just for day trippers, for people that are going to come here, spend 2 days, 3 days. So with that trade show, we also did advertising in the Hartford Courant, the Hartford Magazine, and that brought a lot of good leads to us, people interested in coming to New Bedford. They weren't aware that we were a destination that had so much to offer. Another one that we do is Yankee Magazine. Yankee Magazine has a huge following.
It's a great magazine, yeah.
They have a huge cultural following and cultural travelers. You know, the market trend shows that cultural travelers stay longer, spend more. Same thing with international travel. So we've done things with Japan. We partnered with Plymouth Visitors Bureau, and we did profile sheets, they're like one-pagers on what you have to offer. And they went to a trade show that we couldn't attend because it's pretty expensive to go to Tokyo. So we didn't go, but we made sure they had material on New Bedford. Things like that. We're going to a huge trade show in 2 weeks, and it's called, it used to be called Powwow, of the international travel market. So that we have in preset appointments. So we have appointments with international tour operators, press, freelance travel writers, and we talk about our destinations. And like I said, international travelers don't look at city lines, county lines. Right. So they come for holidays, they call it, and they spend 2-3 weeks here. So visiting New Bedford for 2 days is, you know, a small drop in the bucket compared to their 15-day vacation. So that we'll be going to that in 2 weeks. And then I want to say most recently, the last one we did was April, and the conference is usually held in one of the New England states, and it was in Newport this year, which is great. It was in our backyard. Right. And that was a huge international market.
We're talking with Dagny Ashley. She's the Director of Tourism and Marketing in the city of New Bedford, as we talk about the summer season. And I want to give you a chance, too, to talk about some of the events that are coming up. Obviously, probably more so in the summertime here, but there are lots going on. And you know, as you watch this program, you know, starting here late June, early July, really, I mean, when you think about it, 4th of July fireworks, and one of the few communities that's actually doing a fireworks display right now to bring people in.
Yes.
But that's a great way to start the summer too.
That is a great way to start the summer. There's actually events going on now. I mean, as we know, New Bedford is not shy with events, so we have a huge amount of events happening, starting probably like March all the way through December. January and February, there's a couple going on, but that's pretty much
somebody was saying too, really the half marathon is really the first really big city event that really gets things going during to bring people in during the course of the year.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think when I look at it, I think January is pretty much the only quiet time.
Yeah.
February there's a lot going on with Black History Month. March starts the marathon, and then from there on it's full steam ahead on all these events. But this year, right now actually, the Seaport Art Walk is being done again, and that is a temporary art installation along the waterfront and along the water in downtown. So that's actually going up today. The reception will begin today. So that's kind of a self-guided tour that you can walk around and see. Local artists have done sculptures in the downtown area. What else? Summer concert starting July 8th. That's our first concert on the pier.
That's the ones on Friday nights.
Yes, and those are free concerts every Friday starting July 8th through August 12th on the pier, 6 to 8. National Park this year, it's their centennial. So there's lots of events happening from now and through the end of August with the National Park Centennial. Visiting ships, we've had quite a few already. We have one more coming in July, and I probably always mess up the pronunciation of Hukalea, but it's called the Hukalea, which is a canoe, and
not a lot of people are going to be able to step on that one.
It's a 60-foot canoe. So, but the historical connection was that it was a major port. New Bedford was a major port in the whaling industry in the 19th century. So it's a historic visit, and there will be, the national park is sort of the lead on that.
Yeah.
And of course the city's helping out. So we're working on that for July 5th through the 8th. So right after the fireworks, there's still things going on that week.
Right.
And there'll be quite a few events centered around that. And the Hukalea will be taking temporary port at where the Ernestina was.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And then this year is Craftorama is having a outdoor arts market
every week, right?
Every Saturday in Custom House Square. And then this year is C Street Nantucket Ferry Service started. So that's been great.
I know Memorial Day weekend when I drove by the Whale's Tooth, completely full.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Yes.
And you hope that those people are staying here too. I mean,
Yes.
you think that they're, at least for some period of time, they're here, walking the downtown or doing
definitely.
whatever. So
We recently met with the C Street officials, from their tourism, their arts and culture, their chamber, and we brought them over to New Bedford so we can kind of work in tandem with them on how we can do that, how we can, get folks to go to Nantucket, spend some time in New Bedford, and work together, cohesively on promoting,
Right.
Our destinations.
before we go, I just want you to, for people who want to check out what the city has to offer in the summer, I know you have obviously the website and the app. Why don't you tell people how they can look up what's going on?
So obviously our website, destinationnewbedford.org. You can print out quite a few brochures there. We have an arts brochure, we have a map that's printable, we have our rack cards that are printable. Pretty much everything we do, we try to make sure it's on the website so folks can print it out. But if you're not able to go to the website at destinationnewbedford.org, we also have an app that you can download for free on iPhone and Android. We are on all social media outlets: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and Flickr, and YouTube. And you can stop by either the New Bedford office in City Hall and the Waterfront Visitor Center, which is at the Wharfinger Building on Pier 3. And that is open 8 to 4 every day, and Saturday and Sunday 9 to 4 through Labor Day.
All right. Thanks for coming in.
Thank
I know
you.
you're busy.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We will be back. We thank Dagny for coming in. We'll be back with more of the program in just a moment here on City Hall Insider. Hello and welcome back to this edition of City Hall Insider. I'm Jim Marshall of the New Bedford Cable Network, and joining us for this segment is Ken Blanchard. He is the Director of the Department of Facilities and Fleet Management. It's a long title.
It is a long title.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Let me ask, I guess, for people that don't know, what is DFFM?
So the Department of Facilities and Fleet Management, we're kind of an internal service department. We're responsible for the maintenance of the city buildings. There are approximately 90 of those. We're also responsible for the maintenance of the city's fleet, which is comprised of about 600 vehicles of various types. We are also responsible for the oversight of the trash contract that ABC Disposal currently has with the City of New Bedford and the transfer station.
One of the things, too, is that you and I were just talking off camera, is that the interesting thing is, I mean, your work is people can see it. I mean, people see what you guys are doing, and the first thing that comes to mind is the work going on at City Hall that has been going on and that continues to go on at City Hall. A lot of things going on there.
There are a lot, and we treat the city buildings as very valuable assets. City Hall probably and the main library are two of the most valuable assets that the city has. And just like your home, if you don't maintain those assets, they'll deteriorate to a point where the value is such that it's not worth saving. So to do that, what we've done is, with City Hall, for instance, we put new windows throughout the building. We're putting in a sprinkler system, a fire alarm system. So there's a lot going on at City Hall. We're redoing the masonry of City Hall. There were a lot of areas where the brownstone had deteriorated, and it was literally falling. I don't know if you remember, but there used to be a protective wooden roof over the entranceway on William Street, and that was because parts of the entryway were falling apart. So that's now gone, and that has all been reconstructed, brand new. So
the interesting thing with your department, and I think it's fascinating, is that the people that work in your department, there's such, and I guess the only word I can think of right now, craftsmen. You need people, men and women, who really do know specific, certainly historical things that they have to take care of. I mean, it's not just hammering in a nail or screwing in a screw or anything like that. I mean, you've got people that are really experts in particular labor, jobs.
I'm very fortunate to have a very, very talented staff. And some of the projects that we do, like the City Hall windows, those are considered capital projects. So those are done by outside contractors. The City Hall, the facilities maintenance guys, employees, couldn't possibly undertake a project of that size. So the Department of Facilities and Fleet Management, under the guidance of Mark Champagne, who has come to us, oversees the capital projects, outside contractors, architects, engineers, and that end of it. And then we have an extremely talented staff of skilled tradesmen, carpenters, electricians, plumbers, welders, right down the line to take care of the, I don't want to call them mundane things, but the maintenance things that you need to do to keep your buildings in shape so that they're habitable and usable and comfortable for people to work in.
And the mechanics. I mean, I how many times have I gone to City Yard and you see the ladder truck from the fire department up there, and I can't imagine. It's not like going to your local mechanic. I mean, these things are intricate, and again, the knowledge they must have.
It is. It's amazing to watch them work and to see the things that they do. When you talk about changing a tire on a car, you jack up the car, take the tire off, put a new tire on. Well, to do that to a fire truck, it takes two people, just because the tire is so large and the equipment is so big, and then now it's very involved things now. Whereas it's almost you have to be a technician now, analyzing things on the computer for the engines, and it's a challenge. But again, extremely talented crew over at the central garage, right from Carlos Araujo, the superintendent, right down to all the mechanics. A great bunch of people. They all work well together, and they're very, very talented.
We're talking to Ken Blanchard. He's the director of the Department of Facilities and Fleet Management here in the city of New Bedford. And as I said, the people see the work that his department does really on a daily basis. What are some of the things that, I mean, you look at the vehicles and the buildings, as you were talking about, those old buildings and their assets. You try to make these things last a long time. Well, and that's got to be hard.
It is hard on the vehicle side, more so because of the rigors of winter in New Bedford and New England in general. Snow plowing really takes a toll on the vehicles, and for such a long time, we would use, the average age of our vehicles was around 20 years old. We have progressively been able to purchase vehicles through the capital improvement program. We've been able to increase so that the average age of our vehicles now is around 12 years old. We want to get that to about 10 years. What that does, it takes pressure off of the mechanics, and it also newer vehicles are on the street longer, doing the job more, especially in the wintertime when it's plowing, so you have less downtime, so you're able to keep up with storms easier.
What are some of the projects now that we can see around the city? We were talking about the fire stations off camera and what have you. I mean, there's no lack of work for your crews.
There is no lack of work. Right now, we have just recently completed. We put a new roof on the Zeiterion Theater, a new roof on Police Station 1 and an emergency generator, a new roof on the Art Museum, a new roof on Fire Station 8, roof and gutter system. Right now, we've just completed the design of remodeling the interior of Fire Station 8. We're going to the Zeiterion facade project is almost ready to go out to bid. We're going to complete the facade project. Part of it was done a couple of years ago with community development money. And we're going to complete the facade on that now to bring the Zeiterion back to its grandeur. So those are some of the projects, the outside projects. As I said, we're putting a life safety system in City Hall. We put a new life safety system in the Zeiterion Theater.
And the funny thing is, you guys deal with the everyday issues. I mean, cable access can call up and say, hey, we've got a leaky roof or something. So your crews are not just obviously doing long-term things that are, hopefully lasting 20, 30 years, but you're also handling the everyday issues that still come up, and that's got to be a challenging scheduling-wise too. I mean, talk about prioritizing.
It is, and we have a work order system. If someone calls and says, that the roof is leaking, well, then that's a priority, obviously. Recently we put a new deck on the military museum, for instance, the Low Tide Yacht Club. As we speak, there are guys down there now painting the outside of those buildings. The buildings in Fort Taber, because of their location, they take a beating in the wintertime too. So you got to keep up with that stuff, because if you don't keep paint on them, then the wood tends to deteriorate. So we're down there painting. We remodeled the elections office,
which looks fantastic.
Did a tremendous amount of work in-house with our talented staff on the counter, the floor. We pulled up the floor, the carpeting in there, and we found hardwood. We redid the floors. Some of it's terrazzo. We refinished the terrazzo. We're in the treasurer's office now.
I was just going to say, the treasurer's office too.
Same
like
thing.
Night and day from what it used to look like.
We've got 2 of the 3 phases of the treasurer's office complete now. We're about to go into phase 3 in the next few weeks. We've started on it.
But I would imagine that gives your staff, when you look at the before and after pictures, the sense of pride, seeing how that has a project like that comes out, and when you drive by it or you walk by it, whatever, it's got to be an amazing feeling to see that.
Oh, it absolutely is. As you said, the before and afters are tremendous, and then it's fun too, because, like I said, when we tore up the carpet in the elections office, and there was hardwood under there, so
and nobody knew.
Yeah, none of us knew about it, obviously, because the carpet had been there for years. So we decided to redo the floor and bring it back to its original look. All this stuff is possible. I have to say, because the commitment of Mayor Mitchell and Ari Sky and the City Council, the commitment to facilities and fleet. They're able to give us the funding necessary to do this go to work. So.
Well, you were talking about just the car replacement, how you've gone from 20 years to 12 years, and I guess for people that don't understand, how important is it to keep up with that stuff? I guess people won't understand the money savings, but there is a savings. You see it down the road.
There's absolutely a savings. We'd have a vehicle the same was true for fire trucks. We'd have a vehicle in the shop that, frankly, was so old we couldn't get parts for. So that vehicle is down. So that means that vehicle's not out there working, doing its job, just like every other vehicle. So, the older the vehicles get, the harder it is to get the parts for them. The longer they're in the shop, the more pressure it puts on the mechanics. So it's vitally important to keep up and to keep the average age at around 10 years old, so that you can repair them, or so that they're not in the repair shop as often.
Yeah, routine maintenance. You were talking about the building, just keeping the painting and the routine maintenance going on.
Right. In the shop, in the vehicle world, it's preventive maintenance. So you can get it in. You can rotate the tires. You can change the oil. You can do all the things you need to do, because you're not working under the hood of a 30-year-old vehicle trying to figure out how you're going to make a part. So you do the preventive maintenance, and that a lot of times that's what happens.
So you've seen that. I mean, in your career, you've been with the city a long time. Just the change, I guess, in the job and what these guys and gals do every day. It's got to be night and day from when you first started.
It is. It's a change in the work, but it's also a change in philosophy. So that's what's helped to get us out of that rut of taking two old trucks and making a not so old truck. I mean, it's the philosophy of the administration that's allowed us to do that. But it's like night and day. Absolutely.
We thank you for coming in. I know you've had a lot. You got a lot going on, and we appreciate it. And again, people can see the work that DFFM is doing, just going out to the city buildings. And it's amazing. There are roughly 90 buildings. I don't think people even know half of them. So there's a lot on the plate there for you guys. That's going to do it for this edition of City Hall Insider. I'm Jim Marshall. We will be back soon with another edition here on the New Bedford Cable Network.
John's truck broke down, and he needed money quickly to get it fixed. He couldn't get a loan, and his credit card was maxed out. So, John went to a payday lender. To get his $500 in cash, he had to give the lender a check for $575. $500 to repay the loan, and $75 for a fee. John didn't have the money in his account right then, but it didn't matter. The lender would hold the check for 2 weeks until the loan was due. But after 2 weeks, John didn't have enough money to pay back the loan. So he paid the lender $75 more to roll over his loan. That means he got 2 more weeks to repay the loan. And 2 weeks later, the same thing happened. John paid another $75. That bought another 2 weeks to pay back the loan. It took John 12 weeks, that's 3 months, to save enough money to repay the original $500 loan. In the end, John paid $1,025 when he only needed $500. That was a really expensive loan.